Chapter 37, Completing the Mission. In the GSS matter, Nakahara Chuya was indirectly dragged into the battle. Dazai Osamu, holding the Silver God's decree, could command both the executives and lower-ranked members of the Port Mafia. Instead of meeting Mori Ogai's subordinates, he first went to find Nakahara Chuya in Suribachi Street. As soon as Nakahara Chuya saw him, he immediately suspected trouble and tried to run, but Dazai called him back. "If you take one more step, those little sheeps will get into trouble." Huh? He felt that if he didn't go, those little sheeps would definitely be devoured by this grey wolf. Vexing Dazai Osamu excelled in digging pits for others, Nakahara Chuya's feet still stopped against his brain's wishes. With his hands stuffed into his hoodie pockets and his hood pulled low to conceal his face, he gloomily glared at Dazai Osamu, exuding a truly menacing aura. "You're not going to get out of this without explaining yourself, or you won't be walking back alive." Oh, how terrifying. Dazai Osamu spoke with mock grandeur and then strolled away on his own, adopting a completely carefree attitude. Cursing under his breath, Nakahara Chuya followed behind. Along the way, Nakahara Chuya couldn't help but ask where Yakimaru was, to which Dazai Osamu casually responded, "Once everything is settled, you'll see us at a sushi restaurant booth." Nakahara Chuya was furious, wondering why he was the one betrayed while this filthy guy covered in mud was happily bouncing around. If he wasn't wandering the streets with Yakimaru looking for fun, he was out enjoying gourmet food with someone else's money. Suddenly, Nakahara Chuya slowed his pace, lowering his voice in a rough tone. "Hey, I wanted to ask you last time, did you join the Port Mafia?" "Yeah." Yakimaru agree. "Why do you want him to agree?" "I can easily solve these issues without killing anyone. People with low intelligence, like the dwarf, can't understand the mindset of those with high intelligence, full of boredom in their spiritual world. Aren't you ashamed?" Nakahara Chuya had seen enough of his narcissism and felt at ease. At least he wasn't going to kill anyone. Dazai Osamu paused and pointed to a nearby amusement park, saying, "Do you dare to play a game? The loser has to follow whatever the winner says. I don't want someone ignoring commands and acting recklessly." Nakahara Chuya said irritably, "Why do you like to mumble incoherently out of the blue? You didn't even explain the situation clearly, and you expect me to listen?" "No, even if you did explain it clearly, I would still have my own plan of action. My people don't need you to save." "You still have people?" Dazai Osamu asked cruelly in return. Nakahara Chuya moved toward the direction of the amusement park, determined to prove he would defeat him. For several consecutive days, Dazai Osamu came and went without a trace, and Yakimaru saw him less and less. When he chased after him out the door, he couldn't find Dazai Osamu's life flame. If Yakimaru were the type to give up easily, that would be one thing, but he wasn't. Since he couldn't see his Dororo, he simply went out every day to search for Dororo, and while searching along the way, he conveniently hunted down evil creatures, returning home each evening at dusk. Mori Ogai watched as if it were a show, finding the interactions between the two young boys quite amusing. Because Yakimaru was carrying the book from Dazai Osamu, some well-intentioned people who could approach him realized he was blind and deaf, and upon seeing the name on the book, they would become alert. "What? The complete suicide? Are you planning to kill yourself?" Through these people offering help, Yakimaru would often be stopped by someone. Right after, while busy with his own affairs, Dazai Osamu would receive a call, "All right, I understand. You don't need to interfere with him, I'll bring him back right away." Nakahara Chuya rolled his eyes countless times as he overheard the phone conversation beside him, waiting until the call ended before speaking. "Why don't I see you going for him? He'll come back on his own, he hasn't left the safe zone yet." Dazai Osamu pressed frantically on his phone, pulling up the tracking map, confirming that Yakimaru had returned to the clinic. The Port Mafia, rooted in Yokohama, was a local power. Mori-san still thought Yakimaru was useful, so he sent people to monitor his movements, but truthfully, he doesn't need to worry about Yakimaru. Super semi-automatic puppet. Dazai Osamu boasted to Nakahara Chuya. "He's a person, not a puppet," Nakahara Chuya said coldly. Mine. Disayo Osamu didn't bother looking at Chuya, who was stomping his feet in frustration. Don't even think about making him your target. You lost the game, so listen obediently. Stop asking me about the puppet. Nakahara Chuya gritted his teeth, thinking to himself, Yakimaru, this is the good person in your eyes. Even I'm better than him. From Nakahara Chuya's side, Disayo Osamu had gathered all the intel on the sheep. Those youths who joined GSS in 2 waves weren't ability users, they had all relied on Nakahara Chuya's strength to show off before. The main reason GSS recruited them was to get Nakahara Chuya to join their organization. Nakahara Chuya, the master of gravity manipulation, ranked by ranking Futa as the strongest youth fighter in Yokohama. If Vangala family's Decimo heir really fought against him, Sawada Tsunayoshi would probably just cry, completely out of his league. The sky flame could not restrain the power of Arahabaki. Nakahara Chuya was already an influential figure capable of shifting the course of battle. Chuya. Out of nowhere, Disayo Osamu flashed a sly, devious smile. Nakahara Chuya, what is it? After a week of planning, Disayo Osamu discovered a shortcut to eliminate GSS. The sheep haven't fully mingled with the official members of GSS yet, but they surely know information about GSS's weapon stockpiles and high-ranking members. If you can convince them to betray GSS, it could save us a lot of effort. Nakahara Chuya coldly rejected, if I could convince them, would you still see me alone? Disayo Osamu teased, why don't you try joining the GSS? Nakahara Chuya immediately swung a kick, shouting, do you think I'm as shameless as you? Disayo Osamu dodged and said, I can only use my own methods. Nakahara Chuya's anger suddenly subsided. What method? For a moment, the boy saw the same indifference on Disayo Osamu's face, the expression of a hunter ready to tighten the net, showing no mercy to his prey. He sighed in defeat, remember what you said, no killing, and don't harm any former sheep members. Yakimaru couldn't bear those who have killed. As if recalling a crucial point, Disayo Osamu's indifferent attitude faded, returning to his usual humorous demeanor. How could I dirty my hands for those trash? Ha! Sorry, you were part of those trash before. Oops, accidentally insulted myself. Nakahara Chuya covered his face. 2 days later, Disayo Osamu, using the power of the Silver God's decree persuasion, mobilized the Port Mafia's armed forces to launch a full-scale operation to eliminate the GSS, which was made up of soldiers and mercenaries. Nakahara Chuya, helpless to ensure the safety of the sheep, was forced to join forces with him. Immediately, rumors spread across Suribachi Street that Nakahara Chuya had joined the Port Mafia. The entire GSS organization disappeared from Yokohama under Disayo Osamu's solo operation. The sheep had suffered a huge blow and returned to Suribachi Street, leaving Nakahara Chuya unsure whether to feel relief or worry. Could the broken trust be mended once again? Nakahara Chuya didn't know, feeling extremely sorrowful for this sheep king. On the other side, Disayo Osamu went to Mori-san to get the mission rewards. Mori Ogai clapped his hands and said, Dazai-kun, as your first mission after joining the Port Mafia, you've done exceptionally well, eliminating an unstable organization in Yokohama without much effort. Disayo Osamu, dissatisfied, brushed off the business exchange and bluntly said, Mori-san, intel on 3 individuals. Mori Ogai smiled faintly, opened the drawer, and handed over the items he'd long prepared. Don't be in a rush, this is destined to be yours. Disayo Osamu lowered his head to examine them, flipping through at an extremely fast pace. In no time, he had reviewed all the information collected by the Port Mafia, committing it to memory, planning to rest for a few days before looking for the method of restoration. Mori Ogai, while observing his concentration, casually remarked, I heard from the armed force that many people died in this operation, most of the GSS members perished. Disayo Osamu said, isn't this exactly what Mori-san wanted to see? The remaining children aren't worth worrying about. Mori Ogai replied with a calm face, I thought you would be a bit more patient. Disayo Osamu laughed and said, there's not much time left, Yakimaru is about to find GSS, but I haven't killed a single person. They either die by killing each other or are killed by the armed forces. It's got nothing to do with me. I'm just the guardian saving the city's peace and stability. Do as you please. Mori Ogai smiled. Planning to go back and enjoy a feast with Yakimaru, Dazai Osamu bid farewell to the boss in Mori Ogai's office. The door of the boss's office closed. Under the dimming lights, sitting behind the desk, Mori Ogai smiled with an icy chill. Elise, young boys are really great, seeing them makes me think back to that age. It's a pity Chiyakuen couldn't join the port mafia on the first try. I'm just one step short of a deadly blow. Exactly. A blonde girl appeared behind Mori Ogai, wrapping her arms around his neck and standing on tiptoe. She smiled together with him. It's like Dazai-kun said, for Yokohama, for stability, they are the guardians of peace in the shadows, and anyone who tries to disrupt the balance is an enemy of the port mafia. I forgot to tell Dazai-kun something, but it doesn't matter. He'll know soon enough. Who made him so similar to me? Rin Taro, I want to eat a tangerine-flavored cake. Alright. Dazai Osamu, due to some psychological factors, intentionally returned to the clinic before going to meet Yakimaru. After taking a shower, he put on clean clothes and threw his sweltering black coat onto the coat rack. He checked his phone's location, left with his hair half dry, and didn't want Yakimaru to see his right after work image. Occasionally, his puppet would still seek him out during the day. Yakimaru didn't know how many shady places and monsters in Yokohama had been eradicated, carrying his books and making frequent phone calls. It's time to give him a surprise, so they wouldn't have to sleep tightly together every night. Dazai Osamu, with a pleasant demeanor, showed not the slightest sign of being someone who had been through 2 organization conflicts. To him, everyone else was merely like stones by the roadside. Once again. When Yakimaru went to the Tsurumi River area where they first encountered, he firmly felt that there were even more monsters in the water. Unfortunately, he was unable to dive into the deeper areas, and when he wanted to catch fish to eat, he feared being caught by Dororo. Dororo doesn't like it when I eat raw things. From now on, I have to eat cooked food. The black-haired youth, on one side, was slaughtering invisible creatures unseen by the human eye, while on the other, searching for Dororo. He was completely unaware of the many fearful gazes that gradually shifted into one of curiosity and friendliness toward an ability user. It was simple, his body was enveloped in Rokudo Mukuro's illusions. Every time he pulled out his arm, revealing the sword of a warrior, it seemed like a display of some kind of impressive ability rather than a terrifying consequence of his incomplete body. Humans are a species that judge by appearances. Yakimaru's mask, crafted by a master, and his cold demeanor added to his aura, naturally attracting people who would come to like him. The crowd gradually increased along the roadside, and he moved toward the less crowded areas, trying to keep to remote paths. His mind worked hard to memorize the route so that he could return home every evening at dusk. That ordinary clinic had become Yakimaru's second home, no longer just a place to rest. Because, every time, he could see Dororo returning from outside. He wasn't satisfied with this. He was even a little worried about Dororo's situation. Recently, a gray mist had surrounded the pure white flame of life, indicating that Dororo had encountered some trouble. At night, only when Yakimaru embraced the other person, would the darkness slightly fade away. Dororo, where were you during the day? Yakimaru searched for that one unique flame along the dark road, ignoring those who tried to approach him. No one else would ever take his hand, guide him into the crowd, and accompany him in vanquishing evil spirits. On the other side of the river. Dazai Osamu pinpointed it precisely, found you. He quickened his pace around the riverbank, smiling as he sought out Yakimaru. His eyes gleamed more beautifully than the surface of the lake, his entire being completely without the aura of darkness, resembling an ordinary young man simply looking for a friend. Yakimaru. Each time he said something like that, he would receive an instinctive response from the other person, and then he would take the lead himself. Let's have crab sushi tonight, I found a place that tastes good, Disastrous Osamu suggested for dinner, reaching out to grab the other person's hand. Yakimaru, let me tell you some good news. I'm not in a rush anymore. Mori-san agreed to give me some time off to find. Yakimaru, dressed in a black yukata, walked toward him as usual, as if in the next moment, his eyes would reflect Dazai's figure, radiating a light that had been refined through human experience. Yakimaru glanced at him briefly and continued searching. Disastrous Osamu's hand froze mid-air, his fingertips trembling, his expression dazed. He had been avoided. Chapter 37 End.